This is All India Radio. In the program Spotlight, now we bring you a discussion on National Logistics Policy. The participants are Sharat Kohli, Economic Analyst, and Sonu Sood, AIR Correspondent.
Rolling out the National Logistics Policy on Saturday, Prime Minister Narendra Modi said this is a significant step in the direction of India becoming a developed country. Sharatji, can you tell us about the importance of logistics in our economic landscape and what is the significance and primary objective of National Logistics Policy launched by the Prime Minister?
If India is aiming at being a global economic superpower, we remember the 5 fronts which Prime Minister took from the ramparts of Red Fort on 15th of August. One of the first fronts was that India aiming at becoming a developed economy. For a developed economy, it's important that your economic might, your economic prowess should come to the fore, for which logistics plays a very important part, because if India wants to gain on exports, remain as an importer of certain vital goods, India wants to promote its domestic trade, logistics play a very significant role. From where this policy emanated, and Prime Minister was very clear in saying that this has not come out of the blue. This has been part of concerted efforts over the last 8 years when the various departments of the government have been trying to put their coordination, put their efforts together to see that a comprehensive logistics policy comes on the table. And where this emanated from, if we look at that, our transportation cost right now on an average is about 13 to 15%. Whereas if you look at some of the other parts of the world, the cost is about 8 to 10%. So we are ahead. And sometimes when you are trading internationally, when you are in the business of supplying goods internationally, we should not forget that the margins are very thin. And it's a very price-sensitive market across the world. So it may seem that probably difference between 8 to 10% and 13 to 14% may be about, let's say, 3 to 5%. But factually speaking, this is a lot of difference. And this was the main goal where the government has been making concerted efforts to make sure that this particular cost comes down, to make our goods more competitive, to ensure seamless movement of goods. National Logistic Policy, NLP as we call it, has been framed. That is, first is to reduce the cost, to understand in very simple terms, reduce the cost. And second is to reduce the time, because time is of essence in international trade. If I want the goods today, and if I get them, let's say 3 days after, either I may lose the relevance of the goods, or in case of agri-commodities, in case of food-related stuff, the goods may have to be thrown. Apart from the country losing its credibility in international trade, it was also a huge loss for the entire supply chain which was involved in moving those goods. So I think this is aimed at, as I said, a twofold objective: seamless movement of goods to cut down the time and bring down the cost. Now, the billion-dollar question is that how do you bring down the cost? And the best way you could do it is, if you look at the infrastructure, the Gati Shakti, the National Master Plan for Infrastructure a few months ago, which was launched, and a perfect coordination between various ministries to ensure that infrastructure projects move forward. So we've seen the results. We've seen this in Bharatmala. We've seen this in Sagarmala. We've seen this in the dedicated freight corridors which have been made. Today, the time taken for a lorry or a truck to move across the country is much lesser, because you don't have those long waiting check posts or octroi posts. We've got fast tags. And very important aspect, Sonu, I would like to point out here is that the container turnaround time, which is very important in international trade, because the time it takes for a container to enter the port and the time it takes for it to be onboarded the ship, the whole logistic process, that has drastically come down. It used to be, I remember, 44 hours a few years ago. It has now gradually come down to 26 hours, and this is where it matters. And I think it's a very welcome step, and I'm sure the entire business community, the entire transport community are going to be the end beneficiaries of this NLP, I would say so.
In fact, the PM said yesterday that our cargo should be run as fast as the cheetah, still improving first and last mile connectivity, speeding up cargo movement through integrated digital data systems, make our industry much more competitive at the domestic and global level. As you said, not only help our exports, but also help bring down prices, maybe for the domestic consumers as well.
If you see the initiatives launched, we today have a multimodal transport system. Gone are the days when we were only looking at the railways. Today, the roads are as good as the railway speed or the railway cost. And if we look at some of the initiatives launched by the government, there is something called e-Sanchit. Now, e-Sanchit is about promoting paperless import and export procedures. I think this paperless import and export processes by way of e-Sanchit has played a big role in reducing the time. Then the faceless assessment in the customs, just the way it has been done for income tax. Likewise, there is a faceless assessment system launched in customs also that has again reduced the time involved in clearance of the customs and the consignments in turn. Then, as I said, e-way bill, fast tax have played the role. Then another very important thing which I would like to mention here, Sonu, is we've known ULIP as a unit linked insurance plan, but here is a new ULIP which is part of the logistic policy, which is called the United Logistics Interface Platform. Now, this is integrating all the logistic digital platforms together into a single portal. So you don't have to visit a million portals for doing this, doing that. Just go to one single integrated portal to sort out all your logistic related compliances, all your logistic related questions, all your logistic related issues. So I think ULIP has played a big role. Another important thing which has been done, Sonu, and it is worth mentioning, and I'm sure our All India Radio listeners would be very heartened to listen to this. There's something called e-logs. Now, e-logs is E-LOGS. This means ease of logistics services. Now, what has been done under e-logs is that the various industries association, be it steel, be it food grains, be it plastics, any manufacturing or industrial sector, they can, as an industrial association, come together, log in their grievances if they've got any problem with any issues relating to any government department, any port, any airport. They can lodge their complaints. They can resolve their issues through e-logs. This is one of those brilliant initiatives, I would say, because there were industry associations running from pillar to post to see how to resolve this problem. Suppose there was a policy-related issue, or there was a movement-related issue, or there was a cost-related issue, or there was a clearance-related issue, or there was a compliance-related issue. All these issues can now be resolved through e-logs, which is again a very welcome step. And we should not forget here that to a certain extent, logistics is a state subject also. Each state must have its own logistic policy.
In this connection, the policy also makes way for a framework to set up multimodal logistics parks, as you said, that where the states have to be involved, aimed at seamless integration of various modes of transport, and also a framework for accelerated development of advanced technology-enabled warehousing. How important are these elements of national logistics policy?
When you talk of multimodal transport, traditionally we were referring only to the railways, or if there was an urgent delivery of goods, probably flying the goods, or referring to the air mode of transporting the goods. But I think the newest addition has been, which is very noticeable, is waterways. Because waterways, if we go to countries like Europe, you would find that there is a place in Italy called Venice where there are no roads. Everything happens through waterways. You take a taxi on water, you move the goods on water. So I think building waterways and to connect rail, road and waterways together, so the goods can seamlessly move from a road to a waterway, from waterway it's onboarded to a railway, or vice versa. I think this multimodal transport by way of cooperation from the states has been very significant. And as you referred to about the technology, which is particularly used in warehousing, because perishable goods were the ones which were suffering the biggest of losses because of lack of infrastructure and technology on the storage, on warehousing. This is particular in case of food and medicinal, because India being pharmacy of the world, the pharmaceutical products which required certain degree of temperature to be maintained, air conditioning, I think technology being brought in there, most modern infrastructure being brought in there, has made our food processing and pharmaceutical industry today very, very competitive around the world. And while I refer to the states, I have to mention that, as I said, constitutionally speaking, this is also a state subject. So we've seen so many states who've already come up with draft logistic policy. I'm referring to Assam, I'm referring to Chhattisgarh, I'm referring to Gujarat, Haryana, Himachal Pradesh, Kerala, Andhra Pradesh, Madhya Pradesh, Mizoram, Rajasthan. So many states have already come up with draft policy. And to the best of my information, Sonu, there are at least 13 more states which are in the process of drafting the logistic policy. So here is what we are heading for. Once all the states have finalized their draft policy, once all the remaining states have come out with a draft policy, and once everything is finalized, you will see this as one country. I would say national logistic policy as one country. So whether you're moving from Gujarat to Maharashtra, from Maharashtra to Madhya Pradesh, from Madhya Pradesh to Karnataka, or any place for that matter, I think the businessmen, the whole supply chain will not feel the difference. You can actually move the goods, not realizing that you move from one state to the other. And I think that is what was required. And it has really, really helped the industry. And I think our dream of 5 trillion economy, and probably by 2030, are overtaking China in terms of the second biggest economy in the world. We already now fifth, and I'm hoping that we should be able to overtake or at least compete with China. I think that dream is no more a dream. It is going to become a reality thanks to this national logistics policy, Sonu.
Sharadji, the National Logistics Policy introduces an integrated digital system that will integrate under one umbrella digital data of departments belonging to ministries of road transport, railways, customs, aviation, foreign trade and commerce. This coordinated effort, like the Gati Shakti plan which you mentioned earlier, do you think this will help to make cargo movement smooth and facilitate unified policy and regulatory environment for end-to-end logistics services?
Well, that's the whole idea of national logistic policy, that even if there are states which are not ruled by the same political party as in the center, if there is a uniform policy across the country, I think the political ideologies or political differences or different states being ruled by different political parties should not matter. I think national logistic policy, to my mind, is a classic example of cooperative federalism, where all the states come together in the interest of the businesses, in the interest of growth, in the interest of promoting the causes of their state, which is common to all states, that is grow your state's GSDP, and make sure that there is prosperity in the state, the businesses around your state, they all prosper. I think that is the whole idea, and you very rightly compared it with Gati Shakti, as I also mentioned in the beginning, that just like Gati Shakti, logistics, let's not forget, is about coordination. Logistics cannot happen unless all the departments involved, all the states involved, all the infrastructure involved move ahead in a coordinated manner, because otherwise logistics cannot work. In fact, if you go into the definition of the word logistics, if you dig deep into it, you will find coordination is the magic word. So that is what we are witnessing. And I'm sure as we move forward, this is going to be a driving engine. I would say this would be a force to drive the country forward to becoming a developed economy.
Sharadji, as we all know that our country is a very diversified country geographically, and Prime Minister has been regularly lauding that we are into production by masses. So we have small scale producers also, be it in the manufacturing, be it in the export oriented or be it in the agriculture sector. You feel this national logistics policy will also make things easier for these small businessmen or small entrepreneurs?
So no, over 95% of our businesses, they are part of MSMEs, the micro, small and medium enterprises, as you said. And without taking care of the interest of these small enterprises, I'm sure no national logistic policy can be a success. So therefore, enough has been provided to make sure that the smaller enterprises, the smaller businesses, the small farmers, the small producers, their interests are taken care of. And I can mention an example. If today I have to export, let's say 5 kilos of something, I know a truck cannot do it. No truck is going to accept a 5 kilo consignment. So I have seen by use of technology, a lot of these technology startups which are into logistics, they now take a booking. So what they do is they club the consignments together. Whereas traditionally how this clubbing used to happen is that you used to go to a transporter, let your goods lie there, and the transporter used to say, sir, you'll have to wait till I get another booking. Now, because of integration of technology into logistics through these startups and other means, I think today you can go online, make a booking. The transporter need not wait because he constantly gets requests for these small size consignments. So I think the smaller size consignments will be the most benefited from this national logistics policy, because through technology, through an integrated effort, through a concerted effort, through a coordinated effort, I think they will be able to promote their cause. They will be able to go places, as they say in English, that you can take your small produce to a remote corner of the world thanks to the national logistics policy, Sonu.
The National Logistics Policy is a landmark initiative to develop world-class modern infrastructure, achieve efficiency and synergy, and transform Indian logistics ecosystem. Sharadji, thank you so much for shedding light on various crucial aspects of the National Logistics Policy and telling us how it will be a game changer for enhancing ease of moving and hence ease of doing business and ease of living in our country. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
You are listening to a discussion on National Logistics Policy. The participants were Sharad Kohli, Economic Analyst, and Sonu Sood, AIR Correspondent. This program was produced and presented by the News Services Division of All India Radio. You can listen to it on our mobile app, News on AIR. This program is also available on our YouTube channel, News on AIR Official. You may email your opinion about this program at airnsttalks@gmail.com.